So what we're here to talk about today is the recent STB ruling on reciprocal switching. And we have put together some slides that can help maybe answer some questions for you. There's also questions that we may not even know the answer to, so we'll do the best we can to answer those questions. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. This is being recorded. Your microphones are on mute for now. To ask any questions, go ahead and pop them into the Q&A, which is in your Teams. You can see that there, and Mitch is going to help us navigate those questions. And again, like I said, the docket is a very long docket. It's very legal, and there's a lot of questions out there and a lot of answers we're not quite sure about. So I just want to make sure that you all know that we are here to try to develop what those answers are. So we're going to do the best we can to answer any questions that come in. So we'll get started on the agenda. So what we're going to look at today is what is a reciprocal switch? What is the impact of that STB ruling? What are some of those STB standards? And what would a reciprocal switch agreement look like operationally? And how to apply? And then how can RSI help? So that being said, I will jump right into it. So a reciprocal switch is an agreement entered by a nearby railroad and a carrier that exclusively serves an industry. And what this does, it allows the industry to use the benefits of more than one carrier, making that facility more competitive and could offer better carrier services. So this is what this whole ruling was driven around, is that better services. So some of the impacts of this ruling. It was first proposed back in September of 2023. The STB proposed it. And the reason for the ruling is because of all of the service issues that we've all been feeling in that first mile, last mile service area. What this is going to do is it's going to provide options for industries that would be considered, I'm going to say, landlocked to one carrier. It forces that first mile, last mile service to be more important, granting that access to an additional line haul carrier. We're expecting it's going to provide faster transit, improved service, possible freight savings. It's a breakthrough in the monopolies that we're seeing with some of these railroads. And it's a new rule that furthers the transportation policy that was mandated by the Staggers Act. So it's really going to help the industries out, making them a little bit more competitive with the carriers. Some rules that we should know about when it comes to this STB ruling. There's 3 performance standards that are being evaluated by the board. These measures must be standardized across all class 1s. It's just going to make it a lot easier for us to collect the data and don't have to analyze it in several different ways. The carriers must make these metrics available to the shippers upon request. So if you ask a class 1 carrier for these standards and measures, they should be able to provide that to you. No questions asked. The carrier actually has the right to prove that the service failure was due to reasons beyond their control. The intentional reduction of a workforce levels or equipment availability will not be used in these cases. Those are the most common reasons that we are given when it comes to service failures, is that there's a lack of crew and or no equipment available. The reciprocal switch agreement, if entered, will be in effect for 3 to 5 years. It can be renewed if the incumbent carrier fails to show performance improvements, or the carrier just chooses not to terminate that agreement. But it is effective between that 3 and 5 year period. The effective date of this ruling is 120 days from the published date with the Federal Register. It was actually published with the Federal Register on May 7th. So that makes this ruling effective September 4th. So there is a little bit of time now to prepare, review, and understand everything that we need to do to gather the information to see if we can present a case to these carriers for a reciprocal switch. So now we're going to look at what these standards are. The three standards that they're looking at, we'll cover here. The first one is going to be service reliability. This is all based on an original ETA. It measures a Class 1 carrier's success for on-time delivery within a 24-hour grace period. So basically, plus or minus 1 day, they're going to be able to successfully deliver the product. The measure is also going to cover a consecutive 12-week period. And the carrier delivers at least 70% of the relevant shipments within that 24-hour of its original ETA. So the expectation is an on-time delivery. The previous expectation was 60%. It is now jumped up to 70%. So we're expecting the carriers to deliver their products on time 70% of the time. If it's less than that, then we have grounds to go forward with a reciprocal switch. The next standard is going to be service consistency. And this is actually based on transit time. It's going to measure the Class 1 carrier's efficiency in moving a shipment through the rail system. And this also covers a 12-week period. The carrier transit increases by 20 or 25%, and the case would qualify for that service consistency. So we're looking for an overall improvement of 20% in your transit time. Inadequate or local service. This is going to be based on the industry's spot and pull performance, the switch service. How are they performing, delivering and pulling your cars from your industry? Measures carrier success in performing spot and pulls during the service windows. The increased standard is now going up to 85%. If it's a reduced service days, the standard is set to 90%. So we're expecting if they fall below that, then this also qualifies for that reciprocal switch agreement. How does this look operationally? So what I've done is I created a map and a scenario and how a reciprocal switch agreement would look. So customer A would like to enter a reciprocal switch agreement between CSX, which is a switch, and the CN line haul. The red line indicates the CSX portion and the yellow line is going to represent the yellow. So in this case, this customer is locked by the CN and the CSX is delivering, excuse me, I said that backwards. They're locked by the CSX. So basically, at some point, the CN hands the rail car off to the CSX for delivery to the customer. By entering into a reciprocal switch agreement, it now looks like this. Customer A will then have access to both CSX service and the CN service. So either way, they can come in and essentially they could eliminate CSX altogether. So it's going to reduce that switch time at that switch location, and it could perform CSX performance could be a lot better than the CN. So by entering into that agreement, it opens up opportunities for customer A. And you can see by the lines how that looks. Now you can see the CN is now coming all the way in to that facility versus just handing it over to CSX. How to apply. This is all still being determined. The docket is quite long. It's 144 pages. I've started to try to digest it and figure everything out, but it is quite a long document to look through. We have been leaning a little bit on our NAFCA, which is the North American Freight Car Association. We are a member of NAFCA, and they are also reviewing the docket. They have lawyers that are involved. They're reviewing everything to try to figure out what what the requirements are and how to file for a reciprocal switch agreement. So now you might be wondering, how can RSI help you? And we do have reporting metrics out there and different ways we can record data. It's not necessarily going to be used in those standards. We won't be able to present our findings, but we can help capture some of the reasons. And then we can also use our metric reportings to compare it to those class one metrics. See, are they in line with what we're showing? Is there any discrepancies? And if there is, that's an opportunity to call something out. So we have transit reports. This one in particular breaks it down by segments. So it looks at different rail segments and tells you where a potential problem area could be based on the railroad it's on. We have the ability to keep track of switch information. So if a switch is missed, we can create a service log record that indicates that service log is missed and put in an exact reason for that missed switch. Additionally, we have more reporting where we can determine if a shipment was shipped early, late, or on time, as well as the delivery window. And it tells us if a shipment was delivered early, late, or on time. In addition to that, we can add the comment. So this is another way to look at that performance. We also have a late delivery service log rule now where it finds exceptions based on ETAs. This late delivery does align with today's railroad operations, and it's easy reporting for that metric validation as well. Where else our RSI can help you if you're not taking advantage of these services and you would like to, by all means, reach out to your account representative, account manager, and they will help get you started on that. But where this reciprocal switch is going to impact in our services is the rate management piece because it offers up potential freight savings and opportunities. Shipment management, where we can actually monitor and keep track of everything through those reports. And also demerge management, so that our demerge management services takes an overall look at that switch performance and keeping track of any switches that are missed and all of that activity. All right, so just in closing, before we open it up to questions, we did post a blog. I think it was either the end of last week or early this week. So there's more information that you can read on in that blog. You can find that at RSI Logistics webpage at www.rsilogistics.com. If you want more information on our services, again, contact your account manager or representative, and we'll be happy to help you out. All right, and at this time, we can open it up to questions and answers. So go ahead and pop those questions in, and Mitch and I will navigate those questions, and I'll try to answer them the best I can.
My question is, I know that we have, the resources and the reporting, but there, things we've run into in the past have been the railroad telling us that there was an issue why they couldn't switch us, even though our investigation usually turns up that that is not the case. How are we going to be able to present our case for reciprocal switching if we have that type of scenario playing out? And what would be your direction?
I would say just keep record of everything that can go back and prove if something is incorrect. There's still a lot of questions to be answered as it relates to that. How did you dispute the metrics that the railroads provide if you find that they're wrong? And using our systems can help you do that and pull those reports pretty easily. And keeping the details and all that documentation that you have to show that is incorrect. Um, If you're not using our services, I would create cases on every instance where you do have a miss switch or anything like that, and then indicate what their reasoning is. If you are unsure of what their reasoning is or it doesn't line up with what they're telling you and what's actually happening, I would call it out to them. Ask the questions, why are you saying this when this actually happened?
Thank you. Yeah, we do, but I just
Good.
was, well, kind of trying to navigate how we will manage that. So pretty much we'll do the same things we did now. We'll just make sure we keep it all in one document and then
Yeah.
utilize that information.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Erica.
You're welcome. All right. I think we have another question here. Let's see, I'll go over to Deanne, see if I can unmute you. All right, Deanne, what is your question today?
Hi, Erica. I was asking in regards to the new RSA rail command. You
Mhm.
said there are some tools and metrics we can use there. Is there anything in there that we could use or look forward to help us with presenting that case, a feature that may not be present in the current form of RSI that we can use after the new one goes live?
Everything that is in RSINet that you have available to you will be available in Rail Command. Some of the metrics might be a little bit more robust and provide some more detail, but all the transit reports, service logs, reporting, all of that will be available to you in the Rail Command system. All right, and it looks like we have a question in the Q&A. When shipping to our customer's destination, who would apply for the agreement? The shipper, freight payer, or consignee destination where the delivery switch is the issue. So it's going to be wherever that switch is the issue. So they would have to petition for that reciprocal switch agreement. If there's anything that we can do to help navigate that, we are willing to help out in any way we can.